So the upcoming Hellroaring Mountain DLC map is really shaping up. Andre and I have been really focused on it lately. Don't worry, Tommy has kept his focus on the saga and making good progress with that, but we are aiming to get the Hellroaring map out soon. But as with everything in game design, you get to be about 90% done and then you realize, well, you got about 50% left of the work still to do. So one of those things has been the creeks and rivers. There are actually more creeks and rivers in Hellroaring than in any other map. 10 of them, that's about 3 times as many as on any other map. And I thought they were in pretty good shape, but then last week I was looking, I was like, they could do with a little tweaking. And so I've spent some time working on that. This is sort of a recap of many hours of tweaking and trying to figure out just what I want them to look like and then how close I can come to achieving that look. So there's a lot of little controls on the water shader that we use by Lars Bertram, wrote especially for us. There's the smoothness or the shininess of the water, how much it reflects the light. One of the big ones is the subsurface color here. We can go from light to dark, different kinds of blue, kind of tropical aqua, to more of a low saturation, straight reflection of the sky, blue. And of course, how it looks at different angles when you pivot the camera around changes how the water absorbs the light. Transparency and how translucent the water is. Many, many things to tweak. And then there's the foam, and you can tint the foam color and opacity and the scale of the foam as well. Shrink it down, but then you see the tiling effects pretty obviously, but if you make it too big, then it doesn't look right either to scale on the map. But one of the neat things that this shader has is a flow map function. And normally when you do a flow map, it's a single texture that controls the flow of the water, the speed, the swirls and such for the entire length of the river. But when we have 9 rivers that are many kilometers long, that we just can't do that at the right resolution. So we have to use a tiling flow map, which limits how functional it is, and then you have to fuss with the tiling values. Here you can kind of get these weird splits in the pattern, but if you fuss enough with it, you can get something pretty good. So after a lot of fussing here, I'm trying different flow map textures that I created, because we really want this kind of ruffled water look, because this is basically the Hellroaring Creek, and it's mostly a light rapids all the way down the mountain. Here it's flattening out a little bit just before it gets to the confluence with Yellowstone. So trying different settings of the strength of the flow map and the strength of the normal map on the water. One thing that the flow map can throw in there is this purlin noise, which you go too far and it doesn't really look natural. But the cool thing about it here is that it can kind of have little areas of surging water. So just as you would have in a real creek, where in some spots the river is deeper or shallower and the water goes faster or slower, and you can kind of capture that effect to some extent. So let's fast forward to what I finally came up with after all that fuzzing. That's pretty good, and I think that's better than we've got water on the other maps. At some point I'll have to go and port this back to other maps, and then just the empty river doesn't look that great either, so we've got some big boulders, and then the usual debris to scatter around there, a lot of little rocks along the shore and on the river bottom, all of which also create foam, get some sedge grass in there. And there, that's getting better. This is a pretty nice shader, but we're always limited what we can do because we're always trying to strike the best balance with performance. Now you might remember from the news a couple of years ago, Yellowstone was hit with a pretty devastating flood in springtime of 2021. And it took out the Pebble Creek Campground, which is one of our favorites, and the Slough Creek Campground, and took out the road between Mammoth Hot Springs and Gardner, just outside the park. And it was pretty incredible phenomenon in nature. So I thought for Hellroaring it'd be neat to have something more like that, a flooded, muddy river in the springtime. So I set this up a month or two ago to be a nice muddy river, but it just bugged me. It didn't look quite right. And so finally I thought, well, I should look at the real thing. So I pulled up some pictures Yellowstone photographers had taken of the actual floods. Like, oh, the mud is much lighter color than I realized. So I actually did some color sampling on that and applied it here, and just sort of snapped it in, along with these other tweaks with the flow map and the foam and the ripples and stuff like that. So in the springtime in Hellroaring, you're going to get a muddy, flooded river coming down the Yellowstone, coming down Hellroaring Creek, and some of the other creeks on the map. So that is just one of many little things that we've been working on in order to get Hellroaring in shape for release. Another are the achievement icons. There are 15 new achievements on the Hellroaring map. And Loach has been cranking away on the icons for those achievements. Lovely and charming as always. And Susan has been making some new dreams featuring special things in Hellroaring, like the Wolverine and the suspension bridge over the Black Canyon of the Yellowstone. So all that and more is coming soon in the Hellroaring Mountain DLC map.